My family used me for money and said that I was the glue in the family. My name is Martin, and I'm 34 years old. For most of my adult life, I've been the dependable one in my family, the one who always shows up, remembers birthdays, and lends a helping hand when needed. While my siblings were exploring different paths, I settled into a stable career in accounting, bought a modest home, and lived within my means. My younger brother, Caleb, 30, has always been a free spirit, jumping from one job to another, never quite finding his footing. My older sister, Vanessa, 39, is married with 2 children and frequently shares her hustle on social media, though her employment history is sporadic at best. Our parents, especially our father, have a traditional mindset, believing that since I'm unmarried and childless, my resources are available for the family's use. Holidays have always been a mix of joy and tension. I love the festive season, but it often comes with unspoken expectations for me to contribute more, covering groceries, slipping extra cash into my niece's stockings, or overlooking the fact that Caleb's handmade gifts still have store tags. This past Christmas, however, things took a different turn. The morning began with the usual chaos, children eagerly unwrapping presents, mom insisting everyone eat before opening gifts, and dad holding court from his recliner. I sat on the edge of the couch, sipping tea and soaking in the moment. The gifts were impressive: new tablets for the kids, luxury skincare for Vanessa, a designer wallet for Caleb, and a high-end espresso machine for our parents. When it was my turn, I received 3 pairs of socks and a card that read, "You're the glue that holds us together." No signature. During brunch, as we enjoyed scrambled eggs, waffles, and smoked salmon, my phone buzzed. I glanced at the screen and saw several charges: a luxury retailer, a travel agency, and a significant $1.2826.34 from a gift delivery service. My stomach dropped. I opened my banking app and saw all the charges made over the past week, all under my name, all on my credit card. I froze, trying to process the situation. Dad noticed and, with a casual tone, said, "Oh, that went through, huh?" I asked, "What went through?" He explained that Caleb and Vanessa were short on funds this year, and he and mom thought it would be nice if everyone received meaningful gifts. Since I don't have a family of my own, it made sense for me to pitch in a little more. I didn't respond. Vanessa was feeding her youngest and avoided eye contact. Caleb focused on his waffle. Dad looked at me again and said, "Come on, it's not like you're broke. You're always talking about your investments. Don't act like it's a big deal." Mom added, "And you don't have to shop for a wife or kids. You're practically saving money. This is just how families work." I nodded slowly and said, "Sure." I sipped my tea and added, "This will be the last time." That seemed to satisfy them. Caleb raised his glass and toasted, "To Martin, the MVP," half mocking. Vanessa giggled, and even the kids clapped, not understanding the context. After brunch, I excused myself, saying I needed some air. No one followed. While walking, I called my bank. I had a good relationship with their fraud department, a perk of being meticulous with my finances. I explained the unauthorized charges, walked them through the timeline, and emphasized that my card was used without my consent. Within an hour, the card was frozen, and within 3, the major charges were flagged and marked for reversal. That evening, I received a group message from the family. Vanessa had planned a post-holiday ski trip, flights, hotel rentals, all non-refundable, booked using the points and perks from my card. Now, those points were gone. Her message was filled with panicked emojis and passive-aggressive language, expressing frustration without directly blaming anyone. I didn't respond. The next morning, mom texted, saying her card was declined at the pharmacy and asking if I could check what was going on. I didn't answer. This was just the beginning. For years, I had quietly supported my family's financial needs, letting their comments about my freedom and disposable income slide. I allowed them to guilt-trip me for not being married or having kids, for not being more like Caleb or Vanessa. I stayed silent because it was easier than confronting them. But this wasn't a simple oversight. This was a deliberate decision. They had chosen to treat me as their personal bank. What they didn't realize was that I was about to close the vault for good. I returned home late that night, the streetlights casting long shadows over my driveway. I stepped inside my quiet home, Christmas lights still glowing faintly in the windows, wrapping paper strewn across the floor, and a half-empty mug of peppermint cocoa sitting cold on the table. There was a red lipstick stain on the rim. I didn't wear lipstick. I rarely had visitors. It must have been Vanessa's from the previous week when she came over to check on me and ended up borrowing my wireless earbuds. I stared at that mug for a long time. Then, I turned on my computer. I wasn't angry. Not in the explosive way I might have been years ago. I didn't feel like shouting. I didn't feel like crying. What I felt was focus. A cold, precise sense of clarity. I opened a folder I hadn't touched in over a year, family contributions. Inside was a detailed spreadsheet I'd kept at first casually, then more seriously as the requests piled up. Grocery reimbursements that never arrived. Hotel reservations made when Caleb's card didn't work. Birthday party expenses. Vanessa's car repair, which she had promised to pay back after tax season. The emergency dental surgery for Dad that he never thanked me for. I scrolled through the years. $97 for school clothes. $212 for Vanessa's utility bills. $1,800 for Caleb's business registration that never led anywhere. Each entry was timestamped. Documented. Total so far, $39,240.88 over 6 years. I exhaled deeply and added the Christmas charges. Then I began drafting emails. Polite. Direct. Firm. To Vanessa. Hi, just letting you know, due to recent activity on my account, the bank reversed charges tied to the group trip. You may want to contact the resort directly. To Caleb. The watch you ordered didn't go through. I'd recommend returning it before they issue a penalty. To my parents. I'll no longer be able to cover incidental charges or shared accounts. Please update your payment methods. I've also deactivated any shared streaming services. After sending the emails, I didn't stop there. I logged into the shared online folder we used for family logistics, vacation planning, photos, group purchases. I removed myself from access and deleted the documents I had uploaded. Then I changed the passwords to my PayPal, Venmo, and Amazon accounts, services they'd piggybacked on for years. I canceled a shared family plan I'd been unknowingly paying for. The one Mom referred to as the free shipping thing that comes with internet. Still not done. The next day, I visited the post office. I sent certified letters to each member of my family. Inside each envelope was a printed summary of the money I'd contributed over the years, not out of bitterness, but for the sake of transparency. Attached was a short, respectful note. This isn't about money. This is about clarity. Going forward, I won't be participating in family expenses, gifts, vacations, emergencies unless discussed and agreed upon in writing. If you have questions, I encourage you to speak with a financial advisor. I've included a summary for your records. Wishing you all a strong and independent new year. Martin. 3 days of silence followed. Then the messages began. Mom called first, her voice strained. Martin, why did you send these letters? A spreadsheet? You're making us look like beggars. I reminded her calmly that she had used my credit card without permission. Her response, that's different. Families don't keep score. I let her words sit in the air. Then I replied, families don't take advantage of each other either. Later that day, Vanessa called. You're blowing this out of proportion, she said. It's Christmas. Everyone's tight on money right now. I'm not, I replied. And I don't plan to be. She called me selfish. I called her accustomed. She hung up. Caleb sent a single-word text, wow. I replied. You owe me $5,400. Would you like a payment plan or a formal invoice? He didn't answer. But the message that landed hardest came from Dad. No words at first, just a photo of the living room. Bare. Tree gone. Presents gone. Just my parents sitting on the couch, arms crossed, looking exhausted. Then the message. Your mother's heart medication couldn't be picked up today. She's crying. Are you happy now? I sat with that for a long while. And no, I didn't feel happy. But I felt awake. Because I knew this wasn't the end. This was just the first wave, guilt, performance, subtle accusations. They'd regroup. They always did. They'd try to shift the story, rewrite the narrative, make me out to be cold and cruel. But this time, I was ready. What they didn't know, what they'd never suspected, was that I'd been preparing for this moment for years. I had documentation. Screenshots. Transaction receipts. Even voice memos, like the one where Caleb begged me to just co-sign, they'll never come after you. I didn't co-sign. But I kept the message. I wasn't just stepping away from their demands. I was preparing to defend my peace. I didn't sleep much that night, not from stress, but from an unusual clarity. It was as if the mental fog I'd lived under for years had finally lifted. I wasn't preoccupied with what my family would say next. I wasn't anxious about how they'd retaliate. For once, I felt fully alert. At 2:15 a.m. I made myself a cup of chamomile tea and sat down with my laptop on my knees. The soft hum of the heater filled the silence. I opened a blank document. Not out of anger, but with purpose. I began putting everything together. A chronological report, call it a dossier, if you like. It contained years of financial support, complete with evidence, receipts, bank statements, screenshots of texts, even brief audio notes when calls had taken a turn. I wasn't plotting revenge. I was building a case, just in case. By morning, the document was 21 pages long. Not to be used for social media or drama, but to be handed to a mediator, a lawyer, or simply for my own peace of mind if things escalated. Then I did something even more deliberate. I reached out to someone who had seen all this before. My Aunt Ruth. Ruth was my mother's eldest sister. Once close to the family, she had drifted away decades ago, labeled difficult, dramatic, cold. But I remembered how, when I was a child, she would quietly leave an extra plate of cookies for me or slip me a $10 bill when she saw I was being left out. She lived alone now with 2 cats, a modest townhome, and shelves full of classic literature. When I called and asked if I could stop by, she paused for only a second before saying, "Come by. It's time." We talked for hours. I showed her everything. She didn't look surprised. "They did this to me too," she said. "Your mother borrowed $5,000 and never paid it back. Your dad tried to get me to sign off on some investment opportunity. Caleb left his dog with me for 3 weeks without asking, then never picked him up." She handed me a card, the name of a financial mediator she'd used when she finally set legal boundaries. A quiet, discreet professional who specialized in family cases. "In case they come for you," she said. "Don't wait until they knock on your door." I thanked her, not just for the advice, but for something more important, the reminder that I wasn't alone. I wasn't the first. And I wouldn't be the last. Back home, I drafted a simple, firm message for our family group chat. "Hi everyone. I've decided to take a full step back from all financial involvement moving forward. That includes gifts, shared expenses, and emergency contributions. I've covered more than my share for many years, and it's time I prioritize building my own life. This is not up for debate. Please respect my boundaries." I sent it. Then I watched Vanessa read it first. Then Mom. Then Caleb. Finally, Dad. The replies came quickly. Vanessa, a lengthy paragraph accusing me of breaking the family, of letting money replace love, of abandoning the people who made me. "Caleb, you're lucky to even have family, Martin." Mom sent a voice note. Crying again. I didn't open it. "And Dad?" He called. I let it ring twice, then blocked the number. A moment later, my phone buzzed again, this time, a different number. Then another. Aunt Mona. My cousin Jared. Even Vanessa's husband, who hadn't spoken to me since the Thanksgiving he tried to convince me to join his health supplement pyramid scheme. All suddenly worried. All deeply shocked. All offering unsolicited wisdom about staying united and putting family first. So I decided to respond. Not to them, but in a space where I had control. I wrote a short, clear post on LinkedIn. After years of quietly supporting extended family members financially, I've made the decision to step away and invest in my own future. Setting boundaries is not abandonment. It is an act of self-respect. To anyone struggling with guilt over saying no, know that you're not alone. It wasn't about exposure. It was about empowerment. The post received over 200 reactions. Private messages poured in, former classmates, co-workers, even people I barely remembered, saying, "Thank you. This feels like my story. I needed to read this." That evening, Ruth texted me 2 words. "Well done." But the next morning brought a new twist. An email. From Caleb's business account. Subject, cease and desist. I nearly choked on my coffee. The email included a loosely written PDF accusing me of defamation, emotional distress, and publicly damaging his entrepreneurial reputation. He demanded I remove the LinkedIn post and issue a formal apology. I didn't reply. Instead, I forwarded the email to the financial mediator Ruth had referred me to. Then I drafted an internal email to my employer's HR department. I requested a change to my emergency contact list. My previous contacts? Mom, Dad, Vanessa. I removed them all. They no longer represented support. They no longer represented safety. They were no longer family, at least, not in the way that mattered. And they had no idea that I had just filed paperwork that would do something far more permanent. Because I wasn't just cutting off access to my wallet. I was initiating a formal review of something they had completely forgotten about. Grandpa's trust fund. When my grandfather, Earl, passed away, he left behind a modest but thoughtful trust for his grandchildren. The stipulation was simple: each grandchild would receive an equal share upon turning 30. There was, however, one clause that almost everyone in the family had forgotten about or perhaps never took seriously. In the event that any heir receives over $10,000 in cumulative material or monetary support from another heir within a 10-year period, and said support is documented, the recipient's portion shall be adjusted to reflect this transfer at the time of disbursement. At the time, it sounded like legal fine print. Just a clause buried beneath other formalities. But my grandfather was deliberate. He'd seen how this family operated. And now, so had I. The trust was set to pay out in March, less than 3 months away. Each eligible grandchild would receive around $120,000, a sum that could meaningfully change a life. My cousins, each leading independent lives in other states, had kept to themselves, never asking for help. But Caleb and Vanessa? They were squarely in the frame. So, I contacted the trustee, a woman named Judith. Clear-eyed and precise. I made an appointment and brought everything. My spreadsheet. My documentation. Copies of receipts. Screenshots of text messages and email confirmations. Even voice memos with requests for money. Judith reviewed everything with calm professionalism. This clause is rarely invoked, she said, flipping through the folder. But your documentation is meticulous. If you're sure you want to proceed, the adjustments will significantly affect their distributions. I'm sure, I replied. Would you like them notified before the distribution? I thought for a moment. Then I smiled politely. No. Let them find out when it happens. Because this wasn't about rubbing anything in. It wasn't about revenge. I had moved past all that. This was about closure. I spent the following weeks in a strange new stillness. My phone, once buzzing with family texts, sat quiet. No, can you help with this? No, what time is brunch? No, do you mind covering this one, just for now? Vanessa removed me from social media. Caleb unfollowed me. My mother stopped forwarding sentimental messages about the strength of family. My father didn't reach out at all. I was, in every measurable way, gone from their orbit. And it felt like breathing clean air for the first time. I moved. Sold the home that had become a revolving door for uninvited guests. Closed joint accounts. Cancelled subscriptions I hadn't even realized they were using. I changed jobs, switched cities. Not to run. But to start. And then March arrived. I was in Italy when the email came. Sitting outside a cafe in Florence, cappuccino in hand, the Arno River glinting beneath a pale spring sun. Subject: trust disbursement completed. I opened it slowly. Martin Hale, $120,000 disbursed. Vanessa Hale, $27,300 disbursed, adjusted. Caleb Hale, $35,800 disbursed, adjusted. A footnote followed. Adjustments made per clause 4B based on documented financial support received from fellow beneficiary Martin Hale, 2014 to 2023. I leaned back in my chair, closed my laptop, and exhaled. It was done. The silence lasted just under 36 hours. Then came the barrage. Caleb, what is this? You took our shares? Vanessa, this has to be a mistake. Tell me this isn't real. Mom, Martin, this isn't who you are. Please fix this. Caleb's rent is due. Vanessa is devastated. Your father is furious. I don't understand how you could do this to your family. I stared at the last message. Then typed my final reply. I didn't do anything to the family. I just stopped letting the family do things to me. Then I blocked her number. Days passed. Then weeks. They didn't apologize. They didn't ask questions. They didn't acknowledge the years I spent supporting them. They simply disappeared. And I let them. I went on with my life. A life with boundaries. A life with quiet mornings and deliberate choices. A life where my energy and money were mine to decide upon. Some nights I think about them. The noise. The holidays. The performances that sometimes looked like love. I wonder if, in their own way, they ever saw me as more than a safety net. But then I remember, love without respect is not love at all. It's expectation with a bow on top. If someone reading this is where I was exhausted, trapped under guilt, terrified to say no out of fear of losing connection, let me tell you. No is a complete sentence. No is not unkind. No is not betrayal. No is the first breath of your own freedom. Let them call you selfish. Let them call you cold. Let them call you whatever makes them feel better. Because when you stop being a source, they find a new one. But you? You finally find yourself. Thank you for watching the video. Like it if you watched the video to the end and don't forget to subscribe. Have a nice day.